Hello, everyone. Welcome to Relationships on Fire, where we focus on peeling back the layers that hold you back from finding the love you desire in any relationship you have. I'm your host, Michelle G., relationship and dating guru, coming to you live from Minneapolis, where it is 19 degrees and definitely not San Diego. I'm currently over here hanging out, meeting with some amazing people, and also working with some clients one-on-one over here on all their relationships needs. Ironically, I got here late last week, and it was really, really interesting. My friends invited me to what's called a whiteout party, and I didn't really know what a whiteout party was. Come to find out, the whiteout party is really all about when you're driving and it's like snowing really hard here, and it's so whited out that you can't even see the car in front of you. Interestingly enough, it's called a whiteout. So in this party, everyone was all dressed in white, and it was great. It was really, really great. But one of the things that I found really interesting was how everyone who was at the whiteout party were a group of like these amazing people, but they all had a story. They shared a common thread as to how they built their relationship, how they built this community. And they found each other because of certain circumstances that may have happened in their life that brought them together. And it's amazing to see how supportive, and they hang out with one another. They're just there for one another. And I really, really got to see that and experience that, and I had such a great time. As you all know, we can't do this alone. So it's going to lead me into our topic for today, how to be the creative director in your relationship. Now, I want to tell you, if you're watching on Facebook, welcome. If you're watching on Google+, we have the Q&A feature that should be available. Let me make sure here. So if you have any questions, or you have if you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to post them on here. I am going to be more than happy to answer your questions or just hear from you. I'm really looking forward to this. So here we go. So let's start with, what do you think, in your opinion, is the algorithm to an amazing relationship? And when I'm talking about an amazing relationship, I'm talking about any relationship in your life. But today we're going to focus on two primary ones. We're going to focus on intimate relationship and when you're trying to go out there and find a relationship in the dating environment, as you will. The one thing is that we are all artists of our lives. And however few of us recognize this and believe in our own creative powers. Being the creative director in relationships has everything to do with the textures, the shapes, the lines, the colors of our experiences in everyday life. And the first part of the equation is you, the whole you, the essence of who you are. This is the key in your interactions, and I'm going to tell you why this is key. You leave ripples, the small waves of your presence which just touches others. And the question I ask you to ponder is, what are those ripples powerful enough to impact the other person? Like, how is it that you're impacting? When you keep this question in the back of your mind, two things happen. You become aware of your level of presence in interactions, and secondly, the interactions become a canvas. It becomes your canvas, this white space where you can create what you desire. The reason that I bring this up is because, as I mentioned, the first part of this algorithm is you. And that's really important to understand how you are showing up in your interactions. I'm going to get a little bit more into how that plays into our intimate relationships, but just as an initial thing, how are you showing up? How are you interacting with other people? How often, do we really give thought to this? So leads me into the second principle of the equation, which is design. So now we have the U factor plus, okay, the design factor. And if you really think of design, I'm talking about design from this perspective. How often do we think to design our house? Okay, so probably if we're doing spring cleaning, we want to move some things around and we want to design those things. And then possibly, if we're moving, moving is a great time where you're going to have to, move some things around, or you take what you already had in a past place and you got to configure it and figure out the design, the layout, the flow of what you want your house to feel when your guests come visit you. So here we have something really interesting that I want to share with you. How often do you give thought most of us, we gotta put something together every day, right? But if you're in corporate America, just taking sense and taking pride in yourself, it's really interesting. We really design the look because we want to have a certain impact, a feel of how other people are going to see us and how you feel of yourself, right? Now, here's the other thing, all right? How often do you take time to design your relationship? I want to hear, has there been times that you've really sat down and thought about designing your relationships? And I'm gonna go ahead and tune in here and see if anyone's got anything. And for those of you on Facebook, I'd love to hear, do you really ever take time to just really kind of design your relationship? That's important. How often do we really give that what it deserves? It's so funny. As young women, we watch all these romantic movies, or we watch these comedies with romantic undertones. And they, through the movies, we kind of learn the cat and mouse game. We learn how to flirt and we learn how to interact with people and the things we should do and how often we should call. And then we all come up, particularly as women, with these behaviors, these preset roles that we have in our relationships, right? But not once in any of those movies or anything are they ever teaching you, are they ever really teaching you about how to design your life? Because designing your life incorporates all these different things that are important to your relationships, And I have here from Lisa. Oh, I love her. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for joining us. And she's telling me here that her and her partner do intentionally schedule conversations, and that is amazing. That is phenomenal. That is really key. There are a few people who will intentionally, and intentionally is such a powerful word, scheduling conversations, because why? Communication is key. One of our other, we have Michelle here. Hello, Michelle. She says, I don't often enough, but when I do, my partner and I are in sync. Well, that's key, because along with what Lisa said, when you actually take the time to intentionally, as Lisa does with her partner, schedule conversations, okay, the result is what Michelle talks about is being in sync. Here's something that I want to tell you, I'm going to go back to roles, because we're talking about movies and how we come up in a society, and the same things the movies do is they allow us to dream and desire, the house and the perfect husband and the family and all these things, right? And the movie cuts there. And it kind of gives you a perception of the roles that we have to play in our relationships. But one of the things is that it's not just those movies, it's also our outside environment that really are drivers as to how we create this image of how we have to be, of how we are supposed to be. And, the different masks I call them masks that we have to wear. And I'm sure you've heard that term before, the mask that you have to wear to be the powerhouse businesswoman, the mask that you have to wear to be the wife, to be mommy. So we start doing something without even really realizing it. We start compartmentalizing. So all these different roles that we have to fill, we start putting them into little compartments of, this is who I have to be when I am Michelle G, powerhouse businesswoman. This is who I have to be when I'm Michelle G, wife. This is who I have to be when I'm Michelle G, daughter. So we start compartmentalizing. We build these masks. It gets so exhausting to have to keep up with these images of roles and all these masks, when the solution is to just be who you are and be yourself through all of it. So besides it being exhausting, and I talked about this thing, the you plus the desire, what's the outcome? So the outcome is manifestation. And manifestation is such a powerful word. Every time I say that word, I just get chills, because I believe in the power of manifestation. But I believe in it when you, as a person, take the time to be whole, to be you, to understand who you are, the essence of you. And as I mentioned, when you interact with other people, you bring your best self to that interaction. And then by you being that person, you know what you want, so you design that life, which the outcome would be the manifestation. Now, manifestation is embodying the desire, which is this, it's this feeling, it's this desire, the essence of the manifestation is just this desire. And it's phenomenal when you embody that. Oh my God, life around you changes. It really, really does. Especially in how you contribute to your relationship and how you behave and interact in your relationship. Women are out there breaking all these barriers. They're out there doing amazing things. They're stepping into that alpha role. And here's the thing, that's something important too, is courting has also changed as a result of this. Courting has been the marriage rule book. Again, the roles that we think, all these things have changed because society is changing. And I am very proud of all my women out there, very proud of all of them. But the rules have been rewritten since 9/11. Women, we forget at times that we want to be these powerhouse women and be leaders and motivators, and I honor you and praise you for being that woman. But here's something I also want to remind you. Part of being the creative director in your relationship really is important for you to understand that we cannot expect men to completely be the ones to spark up the relationship in our life. And at the same token, ladies, we cannot expect men, for those of my single ladies out there, we cannot expect also men to be the only ones to let a woman know that there's a chemistry, to say, hey, I'm interested in you, okay? Times are changing, and before it used to be frowned upon if a woman was forward with a man or would approach a man. But you know what? I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of or to be, to be embarrassed about. It's something that you know what you want. You made that decision. This thing with playing games and there is a time for the cat and mouse game. There is a time for that. I do recognize that flirtatious build up to chemistry. But if you know what you want, then go out there and get what you want. That's the only way. Once you have the you plus the design, that's how you manifest what you're looking for in your life, I remind all of my ladies here to please remember to reciprocate. As we come into that role of being leaders and being powerhouses and really shifting as I'm seeing this big shift that's happening in society, do not forget to reciprocate on showing appreciation. And through intimacy, we usually do that through our intimacy and through cooking, a favorite meal, or maybe a game, or I got you a nice shirt. Don't be afraid, ladies, to plan things and surprise your significant other. And here's something else, don't wait to take the initiative. Point blank, just design the time to bring something fresh to your relationship. And this is not only to your relationship with your intimate partner, it goes the same way with any other relationship. It's important to always bring something fresh to the table. I have some comments here, and I don't want to ignore them. Yes, being in sync is very, very important. Thank you. It's, when you're in sync, your relationship it feels like you're not really working so hard to maintain this relationship, because you're really doing the work as it goes. So it kind of turns into like this natural ebb and flow, and it feels so effortless. And when we stop remembering that, when we stop remembering how effortless it was at one time, and we just kind of become complacent, then your relationship gets stale, and then it feels like you're working hard to maintain it, to get it back to where it was. Now, for all my single ladies that are out there, the formula is the same. You plus the designing your life, designing what you want in your relationship, equals manifestation. That's what keeps life going. Now, being creative director of your relationship doesn't mean that you have to always take the lead, but it does mean to contribute when you think something is lacking, to have those intentional conversations, to have those intentional dates. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. Another thing I really recommend, especially for first-time daters, or if you're trying to spice things up, dinner and a movie is great. I love dinner. My husband and I, we do dinner and we go to a movie sometimes, but sometimes we just do dinner and then we come home and have a movie at home, which is great. And I love my husband. But we've had the conversation about actually doing things, like, no kidding, like, let's go hiking, okay? Let's go wine tasting. Let's go away for the weekend. In those situations and in those areas, it's so phenomenal. Especially when you're like first time being with someone or on a date, I would recommend go do an activity, plan something. That would be so much more fun than just going to dinner, because you get comfortable in that setting, But when you're out doing something and interacting in a different environment, and you both are putting forth effort and doing whatever, bowling, scuba diving, whatever the activity may be, believe it or not, you get to really get a sense for who that person is, and you get to learn so much more about them. And that's important. That's really, really important. I have someone else here who, okay, let me see. I apologize here. I have another comment. Aw. Okay, so a friend of mine who's talking to me, her significant other is in a different country. She's a great friend of mine, and she's commenting on the chat, and something that she just said was, she says that she sent a care package yesterday, and she says, if he was here, I would have surprised him as well. And it's not just about receiving. We must give the little things too. And that is so true. Thank you, Lisa, so much for sharing that, because it is about those little things. And those are the little things that are priceless, no matter what. No, and not enough money in the world can make up for those little things. Thank you so much for sharing that, Lisa. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready to wrap this up. If you got any more comments, suggestions, or other ways that you love to show your appreciation, I would love to hear them. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd love to hear them here on the live Google Hangout with you all. And I'm so excited to be here. I have to tell you, it is snowing outside. This morning, I had my first experience of shoveling snow. I was like a baby. I was like, oh my God. I live in California. It's nice and sunny there. Well, I don't want to wrap this up. And please keep bringing in your comments and your questions. But I don't want to wrap this up without giving you some really great tips that I have for you on how to apply this to your life, how to be this creative director to your life. I touched a little bit on it as I was talking about the activities. So what I would love for you to do is, listen, take a book. Have your book where it doesn't have to be your journal. It's just a book where you write your thoughts down, or you just write things that you want to accomplish. You know, we all talk about resolutions, and especially now with the new year, the things we want to accomplish. And sometimes we set out big goals, and unfortunately, when we set out these big goals, we don't take the time to really write them down. We just have them in our head. And one of the reasons when we were in school that we had to put everything on paper was because you actually saw it, which means you would go and say, I have to do X, Y, and Z for this to happen. So here's the thing. I'm going to say tip number 1, sit down for 10 minutes. 10 minutes of your time. Just give your brain a break. Sit down, all right? And write down some activities you want to do. So just bullet point. My activities that I like to do hiking, wine tasting, and scuba diving. Those are my things to do, right? Then the next thing I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and grab this nifty little device here, because if there's one thing that we are attached to every day and all day, it's these things. No matter where. We get our news from this, we connect with other people. Well, you know what? I want you to grab this and I want you to put it in your calendar. Just pick a date. Okay, I know that I can do this, and I don't want you to do it for the rest of the year. I just want you to do it for the next 4 weeks. What are you committing to be able to do for the next 4 weeks? After you do that, I want you, while you're in there planning this out on your calendar, I really want you to set 2 reminders. Your first reminder is something to remind you a week before. And then the other reminder that I want you to use is a reminder for 2 days prior to whatever it is you want to do. Now, for all my singles out there, I know you're like, well, what if I don't have a date? What if I grab a friend and go do this? And here's the thing. You have to know what you love before you can really go out and bring someone in and see if there's chemistry. You need to know what you love to do. And if you have someone that you're kind of seeing or you know, spending some time with, take them on that activity. Really see what they're made of, you know. So those are my tips for you. And I would love to hear from you. What are you committing to doing? Maybe one thing. What is it that you're going to be doing in the next 4 weeks? I would say at least 3, but I'm going to go ahead and be nice today and just say the one thing that you're committing to. I'm going to commit to hiking once I get back to California, because I am not hiking in this weather. So what's the one thing? I want to hear from you. Let me see. We have a question that's coming in. And this question's coming in from Prodigy House, and it says, how do you deal with lots of work and no time to play? That's a great question. A lot of us, we probably work 40+ hours a week, right? And so some of us go to school, and then afterwards we work towards something else. And the tips that I gave you should be able to get you to deal with dealing how to have so much work and not make time for play. Here's the thing. You have to make time for it. You have to intentionally sit down and say, I have 4 activities I want to do. I'm going to go ahead and put them on blah, 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 blah. I am also committing to the San Diego Opera, which I have purposely brought tickets for because I want to see it. That's an activity for me and my husband to share. And actually, yeah, my husband's on too. So we're committing to the San Diego Opera. That's our thing, So I would love to hear, what are you committing to? Don't be shy. I'm going to hold you to it. I will send you a message and say, hey, how did it go? And it's okay when you put it out there, you're actually going to do it, because now you have someone who is holding you accountable. And being held accountable is not a bad thing, All right, I commit to listening to my love instead of just hearing him. Ooh, very powerful. I'm going to stop multitasking during our connection time. Wow, that is a big commitment, and I commend you, Lisa, for saying that, because let me tell you, I am guilty of it too. I'm here talking with you, and I am present with you, but there are times when I'm talking to someone else, I am talking to that person, put them on speakerphone and on email. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it's important to listen instead of just hearing. So thank you so much for sharing that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me check on Facebook. Ooh, let me check on Facebook, see if anyone has any comments here. I think this is always so cool that everyone can see from Facebook. Um, let's see. Okay. Well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for staying tuned and hearing me out tonight here on Relationships TV. I am your host, Michelle G, and it has been a pleasure to spend this time with you. I want to remind you we're going to be here next time, this same channel, this same time next week. I can't promise you that I will not be in Minneapolis. I probably will be back in, I can't promise you I'll be back in the snow, or I may be somewhere else. You never know, wherever life may take me. Thank you so much, and I send lots of hugs, kisses, and remember, every day is a new day to reignite your relationship. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.